Did you know that frogs can't throw up?
No,
They literally throw up their entire stomach and then just push out the crap they don't want in it.
that sounds disgusting.
It is, isn't it? That's why I don't like frogs. Don't trust them. What is up, everybody? This is The Enthusiasts with your host, Jess Nazario, and my co-host slash best friend slash godfather of my child,
Will Zabo.
Will Zabo.
Man, you really just put on the titles
I
there.
know, man. Got it there. You're sick. You're not feeling well.
Yeah, not feeling well.
Sinus infection.
Yeah,
Yes.
hurts like a bitch.
Started yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had a sore throat for about a week.
Ugh.
Sucks.
Isn't it the worst?
It is. It's awful.
Can't enjoy food or anything.
Yeah, I kept waking up in the middle of the night, like coughing and choking. My wife's like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And she's like, "Go lay in the living room." I guess, thanks, appreciate that. So yeah, I don't feel well either, so I understand.
It's
But,
the worst.
Yeah, it's adult life. You gotta move on and stuff like that. I love those commercials on TV. They're always like, "If you're sick, stay home." Yeah, you don't get paid when you do that, okay? Or even if you use a sick day, every company has like a policy nowadays, or you like miss so many sick days in a row. It's like, oh, you're getting written up. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's not possible. Maybe like for the Wall Street guys. The Wall Street people take sick days? No, they're all on like cocaine. So
I was gonna say I don't even know if they can get sick.
yeah, they don't get sick. They're just cocained up
They
crazy.
probably look like they're always sick.
They all look like Matthew McConaughey. Like every one of them. I don't know if that last one's true. So anything exciting this week? Anything come out around Monday, 9 o'clock?
Yeah, Resident Evil 7.
What'd you think?
I really enjoyed it. I really liked it a lot. I feel like Resident Evil is back to form. At first, I was a little worried, but the more I played it, the more I realized this is a Resident Evil. At first, I thought, this isn't going to be another Resident Evil. This is going to be something else. But no, it really felt like a Resident Evil.
It did. From the herbs and the limited supplies and the safe rooms, all that, it felt like a Resident Evil movie game.
Yeah.
So-
I also love the doors. Felt very classic Resident Evil.
Yes, and the noise.
Yes.
The save points, which weren't typewriters, but they were
Tape recorders.
tape recorders. I thought was really neat. So overall, really good game. I enjoyed
Yeah, I
it.
was really happy with it as well.
So I'm gonna go with you and agree with you. It does feel like a reboot of the franchise.
Yes.
So not gonna get too much into it. Don't want to ruin it for everybody.
Yeah, we're actually going to do another podcast, full spoilers for those who are interested to hear about our full impressions.
So overall, though, I definitely it got very good scores overall, and I think it definitely deserved it. Was it a perfect game? No, but overall, I really enjoyed it. It's too early for me to say whether it was my favorite Resident Evil because it's still fresh. I will say this: I played it back to back to get both endings, and that's rare for me. Usually, I finish it and I'm like, I'm done.
I agree. I definitely think this is going to be a gem. I do see it being something I go back to and probably play a couple more times. But I'm excited to see what Capcom does from this. Maybe they'll continue with this look, or maybe they're just going to go back to something else.
Yeah. Or so, question: were you scared? Did it do its job? Did it scare you?
I will say the first 3/4 definitely did.
I agree.
The first 3/4 100% scared me.
I'd say the first two bosses, yeah, around that point, still very terrifying.
Yeah,
At that point, but you're still getting your bearings then, still figuring out the game. So yeah.
that's true. But I really enjoyed it. I'm excited to see what Capcom does. I hope Capcom doesn't pull a Capcom and ruin it.
Yeah.
But it's looking like a bright future so far.
I agree. So anything else exciting?
So something really exciting happened this week, or at least in my opinion, it was really exciting. Square Enix has a Marvel deal for multiple games, and it looks like Crystal Dynamics and the I can't remember the company's name. The guys that made Deus Ex.
Yes.
They're both making a game, from my understanding.
Yep. Yeah, you're excited about it. You sent me the trailer for it. I told you you were late because I seen it the day before. And I guess I might be the only person on the internet that doesn't care. Does not care. So
I think it could be cool. Crystal Dynamics makes sense for me for them to make an action game because they did Tomb Raider. Rise of the Tomb Raider and Tomb Raider. So that makes sense to me. I'm excited to see what they do with it. but we saw no gameplay. We didn't really see any in-game footage.
Well, did they even announce a name for it, or is it still Project Reassemble? I think it is.
I think it's the Avengers Project Reassemble. So we don't know anything story-wise. I definitely, obviously, it's going to be an Avengers game. I'm going to assume either Marvel doesn't want them to use their storyline, so we probably won't see Thanos or anyone like that. It might be their own story, which I think could be pretty cool. If Marvel's letting them do it, it'll probably be a Thanos, is what I'm assuming, to lead up to Infinity War.
All right. Yeah, I'm kind of like either way I could go on it, so we'll see.
I mean, the other company that does Deus Ex, I'm excited to see what they're going to do. Either
how much they're going to charge us for one game. You know what I mean? If you want the full ending, pay this much. Why work hard to unlock anything when you can just pay for it? Yes.
That's kind of how
You see what I'm doing there? You see what I'm doing? Yeah.
I see what you're doing.
I haven't forgiven them.
I'm sorry.
For those who don't know, I'm talking about the last Deus Ex that came out was penny pinching galore. They took every bit of money they could from you.
Mankind Divided? Okay.
That's it, yes.
Yeah, they did
To get
have
the
a
full,
lot of microtransactions.
yeah, to get the full ending, you need to pay for it. To get certain things in the game, you need to pay for it. So altogether, they sold you about a 15% release game, and then sold the rest of it to you individually.
Yeah.
I thought they'd get away with it too.
I guess they did, because a lot of people don't really complain about it.
Really, I complain. I refuse to buy it because I hate microtransactions. Though.
But I'm curious to see what they do. If they stick with like their gameplay of like Deus Ex, I could see them maybe doing like an Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. type spy game, which could be pretty cool, where you have to be stealthy and stuff like that, but you could also be very guns blazing. If they're going to step out of their comfort zone, then obviously anything is in the realm of possibility for what they could do.
You ever heard of the canceled Avengers game that came out that was first person?
No.
It was, ever look it up. It actually looked really good. It was first person Avenger game. You could play from either Captain America, Thor, or Iron Man, all with their different abilities, and it was all in first person. And it looked like it was shaping up to be a really good game. A lot of tech demos were on it, a lot of gameplay. And if they do something like that, I'd be real excited, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
make you actually feel like you're that superhero, you know what I mean? Aiming Captain America's shield and Iron Man's blast and be able to fly as Thor.
Yeah.
Does Thor fly? Or does the hammer make him fly?
The hammer makes him fly.
Yeah. What's the hammer's name?
I do not remember.
Oh, come on. You're terrible.
I'm sorry. I am terrible.
Yeah, all right.
I'm pretty much the worst.
Yes. Chris Hemsworth plays Thor.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Thor Ragnar's coming out.
That was Ragnarok.
Ragnarok, that's what I said.
You said Rangar.
I did. Yeah, it's Ragnarok. It's like hell, so.
Yeah, that looked pretty cool too.
Yeah, we're excited about that.
Prey
Prey.
got a release date.
Yes.
May 5th.
Yes.
Now, you were a big fan of the first Prey.
I did really enjoy that game, yes.
I was a big fan too.
Yeah, I feel like not a lot of people played that game.
Yeah, which I was really upset about because it was a really good game.
It was.
I think it was very underappreciated.
Your girlfriend gets kidnapped by aliens, which should be like the reason to get involved. You know what I mean? Like,
I agree.
Come on, bro. That's my girl.
Yeah.
Like it takes that. I like the gravity gun in it. I like the story. I thought the weapons were really fun. And then you remember they announced Prey 2. Was it 10 years ago?
Yes. Which that was looking very different from the first
Yes.
Prey.
Yes. That one you played as a bounty hunter in that one.
Yes. Which was looking pretty cool too.
Yes. And it all took place in space, unlike Prey, which was on a spaceship.
Mm-hmm.
You went to different planets for this Prey 2. I just remember they kept showing like cities and like the cities were living. You could do this and that. This is not that Prey 2, is it? It's a
No, it's actually a reboot.
yes,
And doesn't look anything even like the original Prey.
or the original sequel that was originally going to come out.
It is Prey in name only. How do you feel about it?
Two things could be good if they stay to the original formula, or at least have that nostalgia somehow, or that they're making this alien video game and they're like, yeah, let's throw the name Prey on it, and I bet you it will sell. So, two options. Not saying it's going to be a bad game, so it's something I can wait for though to see what's going on.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that. I mean, I'm definitely excited for it, but it definitely looks like something that you wait for reviews,
Yes.
see what it gets.
So there's certain games that like your nostalgia makes you want to go out and buy it right away, but it's a good thing. One of the best examples I can use, I love Golden Axe. One of my favorite games for Sega. When they re-released it, you know what I mean, and they've re-released it after years, I almost was quick to buy it. And I was like, you know what, let me just hold off and see what's going on. And the reviews were awful for it, and it comes out it was a terrible game. And I'm glad I held off on it. Never played it to this day. So
I do think some developers bank on that nostalgia of the
yeah.
name more than they do what the game's going to be and how it plays. Whether or not Prey is that, we'll see. How do you feel about them announcing the release date so close?
Well, they must be far along than we imagined. And obviously, they feel like they have a solid finished game. So
I mean, Bethesda seems to now have a history of showing us a game and it coming out within the next couple months rather than showing us a game and we have to wait a couple of years like most developers.
Like, check this game out. Comes out tomorrow. What? Oh, jeez.
I actually like that approach.
Told you.
And here I thought I was the sick one.
Yeah, we both. It is an interesting approach because it puts people on that edge. You know what I mean? Like, I know a lot of impulse buys I have is when I reserve something that was coming out months away, and then all of a sudden I realize it came out 2 days ago, and I'm like, oh my god, I need to get it. I can't believe I missed it. So I can see a lot of people jumping to get it because that release date came so quickly.
Do you feel like too many developers announce a game too soon?
We need too soon,
like we hear about it.
And
Like, let's look at The Last Guardian. 10 years that game was being developed.
Yes. Well, I think
They clearly didn't intend for it to take 10 years.
Absolutely, but I feel like unless you're almost completely done and you know nothing else is going to happen, absolutely you're jumping, the gun if you're announcing it too quickly. Look how many games are canceled.
Yeah.
Canceled. And look how many games completely changed from what it first looked like to what we actually got, eventually.
Yeah.
BioShock was announced as an Xbox game and a PS2 game, and eventually came a 360 exclusive. You know what I mean? Well, it came to PlayStation eventually, but it came to a 360 exclusive, and it was years later. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was a whole different game. Same thing with Too Human.
Okay.
Remember Too Human?
I do remember Too Human. Looked really cool, but I never
did.
played it.
It wasn't. It wasn't a terrible game. It was a cool idea and everything like that. The North
Poorly
mythology.
executed.
Yes, but that was the thing. Same thing. It started out with this certain engine and started out as original, Xbox game, and then bam, all of a sudden years later, it's a 360 game. So.
Because I've realized now Sony, they've been showing us games without giving even a window.
Yeah.
God of War doesn't have a release window. Nothing.
And like I said, I feel like that completely could change in all that time.
But I think it's smart on their part. A lot of people complain when games get canceled, but it's like, hey, if we don't give you a release date,
yeah,
you can't complain.
Like I said, I remember so many games. Uncharted. Not a lot of people remember this. I remember the first trailer came out for Uncharted. Elaine, what was her name? Elena was brunette in the gameplay.
Really?
You know what I mean? That's just a subtle change that happened.
And then they changed her to a blonde.
Yeah.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
There's a lot of games that it just happens like that. Just little things change in the time where graphics show. Do you remember when they first announced Infamous 2? Cole had hair and a different voice. And then they rebooted that whole game and brought it back to the original Cole.
Yeah.
It was a great
Gave
franchise.
him peach fuzz. Because I think in the first one he was completely bald, wasn't he?
Well, yeah.
Because of the electricity.
And I guess the developers felt like they didn't like the way he was in the first one. He wasn't a heroic character. You know what I mean? Because that's what he was. Supposed to be ambiguous. He wasn't good or bad. You made that decision. So when they went to do the second one, they wanted him to be more skater and friendly and superhero type. And people were like, no, we like to go from the first one. So, and that was a rare case of a developer listening to them and going, okay, let's just give it to him.
That's true.
Because remember the fan backlash for Devil May Cry DMC?
Yeah.
When they were like, Dante doesn't have white hair, and he looks like Edward from Twilight.
Or also, you can look at Metal Gear when they changed the voice actor there.
Yeah.
A lot of people were upset about that.
I'm one of them.
You were one of them?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Me too.
I really like David Hayter, Snake.
Who doesn't?
He's always going to be my Snake.
It kind of bothers me that through the whole series he's Snake, and then one game. He's not.
Yeah, and a lot of people try to justify, well, it's not Pac-Man Snake, it's Big Boss. Right, I get that, but he voiced Big Boss as well, so it's like
he's the same character.
But yeah, I agree with you. So yeah, going back to how we somehow got all the way off of this. So yeah, I'm excited about the Avenger game because it's a superhero game, but it's not something I'm hugely like going crazy for. It's not something I'm like overly like, wow, I need to know.
So
this
what do
is.
they have to do to make you excited for it?
Gameplay. I need to know what kind of game it is. I need to know what direction it's going. You know what I mean? As much as I like Square Enix or Square Enix, as much as I like those as company, they don't consistently release amazing games to me. You know,
I can agree with that.
They have misses every once in a while, so it's not like I can get excited overall as a company to say, oh, you make nothing but perfect games. Of course, I'm really excited.
They're not the Naughty Dog.
Exactly, not Rockstar. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I also think this game is also good. I honestly think they're going to, add a bunch of costumes to the game. Classic and stuff like that. Because I don't know if you know this, but Square Enix has their own toy line called Play Arts Kai figures.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so they have their own toy line called Play Arts Kai. And they actually do Marvel characters, but they're very mechanical and futuristic, and they have like armor. So like they have Captain America who has like plated armor and stuff like that. It looks really cool, and I feel like that's something they're going to put into their game to be like a reason to sell these figures too.
I always do like when a game developer gives their own ideas or spins on a typical costume. I always think that's really neat. Midway with their Injustice series and the Mortal Kombat versus DC.
Mm-hmm.
I love the costumes they gave the DC characters. You know what I mean? I like Flash's armor from Injustice and Aquaman's look, how it's, a lot of organic looking, suit and stuff like that. So I do like to see, because DC and Marvel is always going to have their developers that just take an idea of a comic and keep adding on to the suit over and over through the years. But it's nice to see fresh eyes.
I also always feel like costumes in superhero games are important. That was one of my favorite things about like the old N64 PlayStation Spider-Man game, was you got to unlock costumes.
Yeah, and each costume had an ability. I thought that was really neat.
Yeah, I thought it was really cool too. And that was a theme that they kept in Spider-Man games for a really long time. And then, there are some that I feel like a Shattered Dimension, and I think it was Spider-Man Web Through Time, or Webs in Time.
Stuff.
Anyway, those ones I don't believe you could change your costume.
Yeah.
You just played as different Spider-Man.
Well, I think the Shattered Dimension one where you played as the 4 different Spider-Mans, you could change the costumes. The next one, I didn't get to play, but there was no costume change from what I understood.
Yeah. So I that's something that in a superhero game always excites me, or in any game really. I always like being able to customize my look of a character. I think that's pretty exciting.
And then on top of that, superhero games are real hit and miss, and they're real.
It wasn't really until the Batman Arkham series that.
So, and then they're real objective, because I know so many people that hate certain superhero games, and Web of Shadows, that Spider-Man game, I swear by that game. I think it's, to me, the best Spider-Man game that's ever come out. Mm-hmm. And I know people that hate that game.
Yeah, I've actually never played Web of Shadows because the one before it, I believe it was Friend or Foe, did not like it.
The kids game.
Yeah. And then I was like, okay.
The one that says for kids on it.
It does not say for kids.
It's rated E for
everyone.
There it is. So it's gotten awkward now.
Whatever.
It's getting weird.
But I wasn't a fan of that one. So then I was kind of like, I don't know if I want to play Web of Shadows. But I heard it was really good, and I've actually just never gotten around.
I really enjoyed it. A lot of different endings. There's like I think there's up to like 20 different endings you can get. And it's kind of like the Mass Effect 3 kind of ending where it's all like pretty much different ways to get to the same point. But I actually like the fact that you could get, there was one true really good ending, there's one real bad ending, and then there's the in-betweens.
Now, we know that Hulk's in the game, because we saw Bruce Banner's glasses.
All right. We saw Captain America. We don't know if he's in the game.
This is true.
We saw, because like I said, the whole reassemble thing is making me think, what if the Avengers have all fallen and this is a new team that's coming over?
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. I was going to go over who's in the game that we know, but you might be right. Who would you like to see in the title? If you couldn't pick the main Avengers, so if you couldn't pick Hulk, Thor, Iron Man, Captain America.
I would like to see what X-Men Dimensions and DC Online Universe attempted, where you play as your own created superhero that had mentors that were superheroes, and that's where your powers ranged. but done correctly this time.
That would be
You know what I
pretty
mean?
cool.
So I'd like to see that. You know what I mean? Like another person that took the super soldier serum and that's been under Captain America's wing, this whole time, or another guy from Asgard that's with Thor and the hammer was passed down to him. So
Now, do you think they're going to stick with the ones we know, or do you think they could go with the comics? We don't know if Thor is the Thor we know. Could be the female Thor that is now Thor in the comics.
if they want to sell 3 comics or 3 video games, they'll do that. If not, if they want to make a profit, they got to give the ones we know at least. So the reason why I'm saying that I don't always trust it is.
Because I wouldn't mind seeing Bucky or Falcon as Captain America in the game.
I can see that, or as an option. But what was that fighting game that came out that was actually pretty good?
Marvel Nemesis?
Marvel Nemesis. Remember, Captain America was in the trailer, Hawk was in the trailer, Punisher was in the trailer. All of them get killed off in the beginning, and none of them are in the game.
Yeah, you're right.
So you can't always go with that,
That's true. Yeah. What other Marvel titles wouldn't you mind to see either come back? Because Disney is now licensing out their Marvel for games. So what's something you wouldn't mind to see come out?
I wouldn't mind seeing some reboots of franchises, or at least a new spin on it. Marvel Ultimate Alliance. I'd love to
Would
see
love
it.
another one, especially with such a big roster now.
Yes, or even if you want to keep it like a lot of people talk about what were better, the X-Men games or the Multiple Ultimate Alliance, and some people pick their choose, which ones they liked. I like X-Men Legend because of the small scale. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So I wouldn't mind seeing another, taking it back old school to a Sega game, Spider-Man and the X-Men. That was a neat game, you know what I mean? You had your Spider-Man characters and your X-Men characters, and that was it.
Yeah.
And the story involved them. So something along those lines. But yeah, another Marvel Ultimate Alliance would be great. So especially since they haven't aged well.
They have not.
No,
I was replaying them, and they're still fun, but visually and all.
I downloaded both of them, and I still haven't finished the first one. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But,
I would love to see a new Ultimate Alliance. I wouldn't mind to see their own version of a fighting game as well. I don't want to say another Nemesis, but maybe something like what DC is doing with Injustice. I think Injustice is great.
yes. Yeah, I wouldn't want another Nemesis. I wouldn't want a 3D fighting game like Nemesis was.
Yeah.
That was ridiculously hard to control because of that. Do it like you said, Injustice. The 2D that feels 3D. That's always the way to go in fighting games, in my opinion.
I agree. So what else do we want to cover today? We can get off this Marvel topic that we've been running that for a while.
As much as we always make fun of Marvel, I do enjoy Marvel. I was thinking about it the other day, and I was like, man, I really like Chris Evans as Captain America.
Yeah,
You know what I
100%.
mean?
I actually can't picture anyone else doing it.
And then I started thinking about the entire cast of Marvel movies, and I know this sounds weird because I'm complimenting Marvel. I'm like, Marvel does something right. They cast their heroes really well.
I agree.
And I was like, wow. The only problem I've ever had is Brie Olsen as Scarlet Witch. I didn't like her. That's one out of like how long have they been doing these movies?
Yeah.
As much as I make fun of Robert Downey Jr.'s face everywhere, he is the perfect Tony Stark.
Yeah,
Like
100%.
They captured him. He captured him well, at least.
I really think when these Avengers die off in the comics or their licensing is up, I don't think they need to reboot the character. I think they need to do what the comics are doing and refill the space with an existing character.
Falcon as Captain America.
Or Bucky, they've already been teasing
Yeah.
that too.
And I do appreciate the fact that the way Marvel hypes up their own movies, they're doing announcements for every character that's getting announced for Infinity Wars. And honestly, now it's come out that all of them are going to be in it. So you literally did announcements for every single character, but they were just hyping their own train. You know what I mean?
That's awesome.
So, yeah. But yeah, like I said, Marvel's not a terrible subject to go over. It's just,
All right, then let's stay on the Marvel.
they
train.
overflooded the market sometimes. They got a lot of movies.
Black
So,
Panther apparently starts filming next month.
Yes. You excited?
I am excited. I think from Civil War, he was one of the few characters that really stood out to me, and I think he really had an impact. So I'm excited to see what they do. Obviously, he's one of those characters they didn't really touch on.
Yeah.
You don't know anything about him from that movie, so they could go in any direction. But I'm hoping that they go in the right one. I don't know if he's going to if Chris Evans is going to have a part in it. Captain America, Bucky, Because if you remember how Civil War ends, spoiler alert, they all ended up going to Wakanda with Black Panther.
Yeah, I definitely think Winter Soldier at least, because their chemistry is great. I'm actually really excited for Spider-Man: Homecoming. You know what I mean? And it's weird what's exciting me. Michael Keaton as Vulture. I'm really excited to see.
I think he does a really good job as Vulture.
And I'm interested. I'm really trying to figure out who Donald Glover is playing in this movie.
I really want him to be Miles Morales.
Just to me, it's not like first I was like, okay, he's Miles Morales' uncle, the one that got him bit by the spider.
Yeah.
Maybe. And then I was like, but who was that? Was that the what's his name? The Prowler? Like
Yes.
His character was. It's like that's not a big enough character for Donald Glover to play. Who everybody wanted to be Peter Parker in the first place, or be Spider-Man, Miles Morales.
Did they say who? Who's the Venom? Is it going to be Eddie or do we have Thompson? Did they say which one's going to be in the movie this time?
Are we having Venom in this one?
No. But I'm saying if they're setting it up for future movies,
I don't know. They didn't
because
say.
they could have Donald Glover play like Eddie Brock.
I did hear a rumor online about him playing Eddie Brock, and still having a nephew named Miles.
That'd be
And
pretty
being
cool.
involved. But yeah.
Because obviously, like the race thing isn't a big deal. They have Mary Jane; she's African American. So I wouldn't mind. I think Donald Glover's a really talented actor. And I think whatever he does is going to be great.
I agree. I would like to see him though as Eddie Brock. That'd be really neat. You know what I mean?
I mean, I think Miles Morales is a perfect fit for him.
Still feel like he's too old, man. I just
Can agree with that. He definitely is too old.
especially now that I feel like they're finally going back to formula. They actually have, for once, a teenager playing
That's
Peter
true.
Parker.
Yeah.
Like wow, it only took 3
And
actors.
I think Donald Glover's what, like in his early 30s
Yeah,
or late 20s?
it's
Yeah, so maybe just an Eddie Brock.
Eddie Brock
But
would be bad.
so how do you want Venom to look this time? Because obviously not like the Spider-Man 3.
I didn't hate the way he looked in Spider-Man 3. A little bigger, maybe a little more ton, and I wouldn't have hated it. You know what I mean? The face I thought was perfect.
I really wanted him to have that dominating presence. He just didn't have in 3, so I really hope that Donald Glover can bring that to the character. If he is Eddie Brock. This is all rumors, obviously.
Yeah.
Speculation.
Speculation's not even rumors. Like I said, I've read a few things that who he could be probably. So we'll see. J. Jonah Jameson, I definitely want him in Homecoming.
I wish they would bring back the old actor.
He's Commissioner Gordon now, man.
I know,
J.K.
but
Simmons
he
is
was
Commissioner Gordon.
he was such a good J.J.
He was
Jameson.
perfect for it. I agree, but I'm really excited to see what he brings to Commissioner Gordon.
Well, do you think they're going to even go with J. Jonah this movie?
The last franchise was really afraid to cast him because how great J.K. Simmons was. I feel like wasn't that J.K. Simmons? Was that his name?
I don't remember his name, to be honest.
If not, I'm sorry, internet. I'm butchering his name. I think it is, but I could see them going. Just bring somebody in at least.
I think you can skip the first movie and be okay, because I think what is
As long as he's living home, you know what I mean? Because that's how Spider-Man paid his rent. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's the picture. So
well, obviously he's going to live with Aunt May.
yes,
We've seen that. So I
it was
don't
attractive this time.
too attractive
Yes.
for Aunt May.
Yes,
That's why Tony Stark hits on her,
yes, super weird.
trying to become uncle.
Uncle Ben.
But do you like that they're not doing the origin story?
Yes.
100%.
I feel like by this point, one of the complaints I had about Batman v Superman, and even though I did enjoy it and I understand it played a role at the end, we got to see Bruce Wayne's parents killed for what, the 50th time? Like I can't tell you how many times I've seen his parents die. Boy, it's lost all meaning for me. I feel nothing.
Yeah.
I don't. You know what I mean? From games to comics to shows to movies. I think every franchise of Batman has shown his parents being killed. And it's like, come on.
Yeah.
I get it. His parents died. Okay, Denali. We all got it. We got it. Yes.
Move on.
Move on. Thank you. That's one thing I did like about Batman v Superman was this is a Batman already in his career. And I do appreciate that when the superhero movie does that. Sets him up already established and then maybe through flashbacks goes back. What Daredevil attempted with Ben Affleck, it failed miserably, but it attempted it at least.
I agree.
Make him established superhero already, and then we'll go back and tell the story.
I think they're doing a good job with Spider-Man for this. Obviously, they're going to do a Black Panther. We're obviously not going to get an origin story because we saw it.
What do you think the villain is going to be Black Panther? Because they already announced that Claw is a secondary villain.
Really? Man, I really thought Andy Serkis's Claw was going to be
Yeah, so
the main
I was
villain.
surprised too. So it could go either way. Um,
I'm not going to lie, I don't really know Black Panther's villains like that.
in the comics, he was always big on fighting the Skrulls,
Okay.
big time. And you got to remember, he was.
But they can't do the
They
scrolls.
can't do the Skrull, yeah. So I'm wondering what direction they're going to go in.
Do you think they're going to do those aliens from Thanos?
Nah, definitely not. And then I was thinking of what's his face from Civil War, and actually taking the guy I can't remember his name, the one in purple, the villain from Civil War. You know, starts with a Z.
Von Zemo?
Zemmour, yes. Maybe they'll do him a little more correctly.
Yeah.
And he'll come back as a villain.
That'd be interesting. Actually, you know what else I wouldn't mind seeing? And I know he's actually a really big Spider-Man villain, but I think he could easily work for Black Panther, is the Hunter,
Oh yeah, Craven.
Craven.
Yeah, Craven Hunter. Yeah,
I think that could be a good one.
that's not bad. A nice way to introduce him too. That'd be pretty
Yeah,
neat.
and you don't even have to have him lose to Black Panther or anything. You can just kind of set it up that he's this established villain, and then eventually give him to Spider-Man.
Yeah. So
Because I don't see
Gerard Butler, by the way, to play him. I will fight for that. Do it now, Gerard Butler, when you're still young enough to do it, man. So, yeah, not bad. Any other news you want to go to? Any DC news? Anything?
I haven't heard anything to do.
Only thing I've read so far is Bryan Singer. No, that's not who directs it. That is the X-Men guy. What is his name? Who does? Zack Snyder.
Okay.
Zack
I heard he
Snyder.
got nominated for Worst Actor.
Worst director.
Director, that's right.
Ben
Worst
Affleck got nominated for Worst Actor.
That doesn't make any sense.
No. It got 8 nominees for some Razzies.
Yeah.
I was like, what? And what's crazy is, I was just looking it up. Resident Evil, the final chapter, scored better on Rotten Tomatoes than Batman v Superman. Disney, who have you paid off? I don't get it. Like, I can understand not liking that movie, but just saying overall it's a terrible film, you're a liar. It's not a
I
bad.
agree.
It's
Disney
not-
must be using that money to their advantage.
like, honestly. And it's weird to hear that it's still like all these things, because I know most people run to that watch the movie are like, I didn't think it was that bad. I actually enjoyed it.
Yeah, same.
There's a few diehard Marvel fans I know go out of their way to talk bad about it, but besides that, a coworker of mine, I just lent it to him, and he said he really enjoyed it and didn't understand where the reviews were coming from. I was like, I agree with you. So, but no, anyway. Zack Snyder announced that although Superman's been in none of the posters, commercial stuff, he's got a huge part in the movie. So I'm thinking, and this is potential spoilers or anything like that, the villain.
I can agree with that. Because obviously you're not going to do Darkseid.
Yeah.
Darkseid is such a big villain that there's no way you're going to do him.
Absolutely not.
First
I hope
movie.
they're not going to marvel it and he'll be in a chair for like 10 years. But
I
I definitely think it's because they announced Steppenwolf as the big villain, but I feel like he's not established enough, and he's not a big enough villain for that just to be it.
I can see them pulling maybe a Justice League War where Darkseid comes out of the portal and they just kind of push him back, but you know that he's coming, type of thing.
I don't think if we do see Darkseid, I think it'll be at the end, after the credits or a mid-credit scene or something like that.
You mean like a small silhouette of him, maybe?
Yes,
or
I
something?
don't. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, you're gonna have to cast the perfect actor for him, and Michael Clark Duncan, who played him amazingly in Smallville, is no longer with us. So it's like you're
Yeah.
gonna have to find a great actor for him, and you're gonna have to find that balance of a look that looks amazing, that is not super cheesy and comic book and cartoonish. So I feel like that's too much pressure for this one. So
Well, I mean, Thanos' actor and look changed since the first Avengers movie when they teased him.
Correct.
So,
Yeah.
so I can see them maybe going that route as well, or maybe not even having him say anything.
Yeah, I feel like what would be nice if the villains are Steppenwolf's Superman, and Superman's corrupted, whatever, they beat him, he helps them defeat Steppenwolf, and he's ridiculously hard to defeat, and what would be real nice, like a Dragon Ball Z nod, like, oh, you've defeated me, but I'm not even the big baddie, somebody else is coming, and then, it ending with like, oh, crap.
Yeah.
Like, we gotta get more, like, and then explain, that's how you can bring the Green Lantern Corps into it, you know what I mean? Or your Dr. Fate. I just want Dr. Fate.
I really
Just-
want.
yeah.
Fate has intervened.
So, but I always enjoyed that about Dragon Ball Z until it went overboard. When they beat Radish and he was like, oh, that took everything out of you. By the way, there's 2 more powerful Saiyans on the way. And that's what I would love to see at the end of Justice League. not Saiyans.
Yeah,
More powerful people.
I can agree. Or I wouldn't mind if one of the ways they really show off Darkseid's strength is, Stephen Wolf loses, goes back to Darkseid to inform him that he lost, and then you see Darkseid just nail him.
Omega beat him, and he's just done.
Yeah.
Yeah. What I'm looking forward to eventually with Darkseid is Batman and Darkseid face to face, because I've always enjoyed their interactions more than anything.
I agree.
Darkseid, I remember the first person to ever make Darkseid miss with his Omega beams was Batman in the comics, and Darkseid was just mind-boggled by that. You know what I mean? In the crossover where Supergirl first got discovered and Darkseid had kidnapped her originally, the way they escaped Apocalypto was because of Batman. You know what I mean? So I would love to see that. Ben Affleck face to face with this guy and him like, "You're a human." And Ben Affleck's like, "You have no idea, buddy. You have no idea."
I would love that.
So I still love Ben Affleck as Batman.
I think he's the perfect Batman we've ever had.
Yeah. Overall, like I said, I haven't got to see. We talked about Marvel doing a great job in casting. I feel like DC maybe not so much, because I just don't like Henry Cavill as Superman. And maybe it's not his fault. I just don't like the brooding, dark Superman.
I can agree. I don't know if it's the director. Maybe Zack Snyder just doesn't get the character very well. I think he definitely. I don't know if it was Zack Snyder's direction for Batman with Ben Affleck, or Ben Affleck directing his own character, but definitely he nailed Batman.
Absolutely.
It seems like from what we've seen of the Flash, they understand the Flash, or maybe Ezra Miller just really understands the Flash.
Well, like I said, I want to see it in film too, because Wonder Woman, I was starting to get excited when I watched it in the trailers. I was like, okay, maybe she'll be a decent Wonder Woman. But it was watching the movie where I was like, oh my God, she was a perfect casting for Wonder Woman.
I agree.
And she is. So I won't get too excited for Flash until I actually see him in the actual film.
One of the ones that I'm actually really concerned about is Jason Momoa as Aquaman.
I'm not.
I definitely think he's going to have the presence, but I don't know if he's going to be too serious or where we're going with it. Because I don't know if you remember, did you read the New 52 for Justice League?
Yes.
Remember when Aquaman comes and he's like, "Looks like you guys need a leader," and Batman's like, "You're clearly not looking at me." I think things like that to me. I just don't see.
Well, that's my issue with the DC universes. I feel like they're pulling so much different, because the Superman we have in these films, Henry Cavill Superman, is New 52 Superman.
100%.
Cocky, brooding, you know what I mean?
Emotional.
Like, emotional, that's him. And I feel like people that grew up reading Superman, like, this is not Superman. And even when I read the New 52, I was like, I don't like this Superman. That's why the Rebirth Superman I'm really enjoying. It's a combination of both.
Well, the New 52 Superman, apparently his comic sales were like one of the lowest out of the New 52.
And I know they were trying to go dark and brooding, and that's why they did the whole storyline in the New 52 that he aged slower and the Kents had passed on already, and he looked like he was in his 20s, but he had been on Earth for about 50 years already. And okay, that's neat, but no, it's not. You can't have that contrast between Batman and Superman if they're both dark, brooding, and angry. You know what I mean?
It's true.
And that's one of the things that Batman v Superman failed to capture, I feel like, is have that contrast. They both look dark. They both look brooding. And it was like, okay.
Only one of you should be.
Yeah, it wasn't that fun. But looking at Aquaman, I grew up reading Aquaman in the 90s. And I grew up reading the one-handed Aquaman.
Hook.
I grew up when they redid the franchise the first time, and he was half Earthling, half Atlantean, and Ocean Master was full Atlantean, because the original storyline was the other way around. They switched it in the 80s and the 90s. And that was a very brooding, dark Aquaman. So that's the Aquaman I know. I remember a comic book where Superman said that he would never face Aquaman underwater because Aquaman would beat him any day. That he's just as strong as him, and if he had the home advantage of water, he could destroy him. That's the Aquaman I know. So when I seen Jason Momoa's Aquaman, I'm like, I can get behind this. And to me, that's the only way that people are going to take him serious.
Because if you have a big brooding...
Because Family Guy and all other jokes have ruined Aquaman as a character.
And I've always liked Aquaman. Aquaman has always been in my top 5 favorite DC heroes, personally. So I'm excited. I want them to do it right. I just don't know, like I said, I just don't know if they will.
I've always...
Because Aquaman's tough. He's taking bullets to the head, and bullets can't penetrate his skin.
Absolutely. And one of the things I always want to point out, and Martian Manhunter said, Aquaman doesn't control fish. He communicates him. But he's the, king of the ocean, so they do what he says.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And as silly as that sounds, like, okay, it's stupid that he talks to fish. It's like he gets a shark to do what he wants because he's Aquaman. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
attack that guy because I said so.
Well, I remember I saw there was a meme and it showed Aquaman summoning the Kraken. And he was like, they said I was worthless, huh?
So, but yeah, I really enjoyed that. And in the 90s, there was that kind of hint that Atlanteans and Amazonians might come from the same bloodline. So I would like to see that. That would be neat.
Now, do you think that that's going to get touched on maybe his solo movie?
Maybe.
Because there are numerous in Flashpoint. They do the war. You know.
It could be. One of the best storylines that it got stopped because comic writers change all the time was there was a rumor that started in the comic book that Batman started investigating that Atlanteans, Amazonians, or all that are descendants of Kryptonians. And they had been on Earth for so long, their DNA had changed and adapted to their surroundings. I would love to see that explored in a movie. I think that'd be real neat.
Huh.
Come to find out that, especially with the whole Man of Steel storyline, that Kryptonians were going out to planets and colonizing them, that would be a neat storyline to throw out.
That could maybe be interesting. I personally don't really like the sound of that. But
It's because you're a girl and you wear a V-neck shirt.
oh my god.
Maybe, I don't know. That could be. I could be wrong about it.
I just don't like the idea of everyone being connected. It's kind of like the Marvel thing. It bothers me that technically almost every character is connected in Marvel because it all goes back to Bruce Banner. God,
I know.
Captain America.
Yeah. But at the same time, I love those little connections. One of my favorite things is the Bruce Wayne's parents didn't go bankrupt because they got the contract for Superman's ship that was found to develop technology around that. And Superman's parents found Earth because they were able to connect to a Wayne satellite. And that's how Batman and Superman are always connected, and they'll never know. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I always thought that was an interesting idea, but I can see that. Too much connection does ruin a universe.
So what
It's like the new Star Wars movie. Would it be real cool if Rey wasn't related to anybody? She's just,
that's all I want.
you know what I mean?
Do not want Rey.
She's not a Kenobi. She's not a Skywalker.
She's Rey.
That's it.
That's all I want out of that. But staying on the DC topic really quick, we can easily go into that Star Wars one after this. But
Like Star Wars.
what are some animated
That's
movies?
what we got to throw out. The new Star Wars title name.
Oh yeah, we do.
We got to talk about that. We got
But what are some animated DC movies you would like to see come to live action?
Flashpoint.
100%.
I need Flashpoint.
Another one that I really would like to see is Doom. Justice League Doom. And here's why. I would love to see when they showed that Batman is the reason that Doom beats the Justice League. Because I don't think people understand that Batman always has a plan to defeat anyone.
That is Plan B. The only other one I would love to see is Under the Red Hood. As much as I love the comic, I feel like the movie was better. They fixed a lot of potholes, and I would love to see the Jason storyline.
I feel like they teased at it, so I think it's definitely going to happen.
And honestly, I know Shia LaBeouf's in jail right now for hating Trump. But once he gets released, man, cast him as Jason Todd. You don't even need to tell him he's acting.
Just be him.
Just be him. People are like, oh my God, Shia's back. This is crazy.
It's like, no, Shiloh's just being himself.
So, but yeah, I would love, I'd love to see that. But yeah, that was another thing. I can't believe we forgot to bring up. The new Star Wars movie got a title.
Yes.
The Last Jedi.
That title really makes me think.
What does it make you think?
So either I think Luke is going to die,
Mm-hmm.
or
Which would leave Rey as the Last Jedi.
or Rey's going to go become the dark side. However, if you remember at the end of Episode 6, technically Luke was never a Jedi.
Correct. Here's my issue though. It says Last Jedi. Jedi is plural already. So it could be talking about the last group of Jedi.
That's true too.
And I keep going back to this. I don't think that Finn is not, he's got to be at least somewhat force sensitive. At the end of the day, he kept up with somebody that was trained by Luke Skywalker. You know what I mean? He might have been defeated, spoiler alert. He might have been defeated, but at least for a good 5 minutes, he held his own against him. So I think Finn's somewhere in there.
The thing that I think they need to do is maybe tie in Ezra from Rebels.
Okay.
Whether you, obviously, you're not going to put him as a Sith Lord because we don't really know which direction he's going in. But I definitely do think you need to tease him or something because he's clearly probably still going to be alive at the end of Rebels.
Yeah. So the only things they've really announced about this is Carrie Fisher was completing or filming when it's done. Kyle Ren has a new costume in this. So a lot of people speculate maybe he's turned to the good side. Maybe he was more damaged than we figured out when he fought Rey. I personally think it's just going to be more like Darth Vader. Like, you know what I mean?
I definitely could see that. I wouldn't surprise me if he looked more like Revan.
Okay.
Because his helmet kind of already is reminiscent of Revan.
Yes.
So it wouldn't surprise me if they kind of go that route.
Favorite character out of Force Awakens?
Oh my god. Probably Finn or Kylo.
Finn was great. Kylo Ren was great. Rey was great too, man.
Rey was great.
But to me, Poe. I love Poe, man.
Oh, Poe Dameron?
Yeah, he stole the movie from me. Every line, everything he did. He was so charming that it kept him alive because his character was originally supposed to be killed off.
Yeah.
And, you know, Shakespeare was like, he's just so charming.
I definitely like the Finn and Poe relationship.
Oh, yeah.
Especially when you see them hug at the end.
Yeah.
You're just like, oh.
But, yeah, overall, Force Awakens, although I've gone on an emotional roller coaster. I loved it at first because it'd been so many years since the Star Wars movie. And be honest, sorry George Lucas, but those 3 you released weren't that great. Sorry, the prequel trilogy just wasn't top notch.
The only watchable one, in my opinion, is the third one.
Yeah. To go back to Force Awakens, and then once you watch it again, you're like, yeah, this is kind of just a remake, actually.
Yeah.
And then you watch it again, you're like, yeah, all right, it's not bad. But overall, it's still a great movie. But the characters are what sold it to me. Like the original Star Wars, you liked the characters. And the part to me that gives me the feels, and this is a big spoiler warning, but if you haven't seen that movie, I don't know where you've been yet. Not when Han Solo gets killed off, because I seen that coming. I was like, there's no way Harrison
Me too.
Ford.
And I actually was happy about it.
Yeah. The scream Chewbacca gives when he's killed, that's what gave me the feels.
Yeah.
Because how they somehow made a scream feel like, oh my God, that's my best friend of 60 years just getting killed. Like, I legit felt that. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Good for you.
Punch right in the heart.
Yeah, good for you. Because
Yeah.
I did feel like Chewbacca was like, no. So,
I agree.
so this is going to be the first Star Wars movie release with, I mean, granted, Carrie Fisher finished filming, and R2-D2's actor, you've never seen him anyway because he's in there, but both of them have passed away now.
Yeah.
So, how do you feel about that? Is it going to be weird going on?
Carrie Fisher was supposed to not. She wasn't going to have a big part in this movie, but 8 apparently she was supposed to have a huge part. So I'm interested to see in how it works, but I definitely think we're going to be missing something from Star Wars without her. And the same with R2-D2. I think even though, you know, we never saw the actor, he definitely brought something to that character that made us love a droid that had no lines.
A couple beeping noises.
That just ran into walls and screeched.
Yeah. So, overall, though, I'm really excited. And on Facebook the other day, somebody pointed that out, and I thought that was really neat. Line up both titles to the films. The Force Awakens, The Last Jedi. And I was like, oh, wow. And that's a continuous thing. Good job.
Yeah.
I don't know if they did it on purpose or not, but so overall, I'm really excited about this next movie.
I'm really excited for it too.
December. It's crazy. It's this year.
Yeah, I know.
No trailer yet.
I think they're waiting for, I think it's called D23, the Disney event that they do every year.
Right.
So I would assume that that's when we're going to see our Black Panther trailer probably. Maybe not a Black Panther trailer. We'll probably see a new Spider-Man trailer, new Guardians, Thor Ragnarok, and then we'll probably see
Star Wars.
Star Wars.
Just weird, man, because December. It's coming out December.
Yeah, it's really close.
It is really
and
close.
all we've gotten is the title.
The title. That's it.
And I'm super shocked nothing is leaked.
Yes.
Nothing.
Well, to be honest, they were real good about Force Awakens, man.
That's true.
The only thing that got released was Kylo Ren's face.
Yeah.
And even then, when it got released, people were still like, it could be Luke, man. It could be Luke. And like, we were all, Luke's not in the trailer. Granted, it was because he was in it for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
But, which apparently he was supposed to have a much bigger part. And while writing him, his part kept getting shrunk and shrunk until it was, wouldn't it be cool if this movie was all just a search for Luke? Which was really neat.
Yeah, it was different.
Not a line in the film, though.
No.
Didn't have one line.
He had a great stare.
Yeah. His name is third that pops up at the end. And he doesn't have one line in that film.
Gotta love it.
What heartbroke me, and this is one thing that's going to make me sad, we're not going to get to see any scenes between Harrison Ford and Mark Hamill.
Yeah. I didn't even think of that.
And it's they're heartbreaking.
No Luke and Han scenes.
Yeah. So I'm hoping a ghost, maybe flashback, something. I don't know. It'd be nice to see them one more time. I guarantee this will bring Luke out of retirement, but I definitely don't think Luke is going to make it through this franchise.
I don't think so either, and I hope he doesn't. I really think they need to get away from the Skywalkers, which is why I don't want Rey to be a Skywalker. I talk about this all the time with friends and people that just talk to me about Star Wars in general. Sometimes I have like customers and guests that just come in and want to talk to me about Star Wars and nerd stuff. But I say all the time that like George Lucas has this whole galaxy far, far away. That means you can do anything with it. Yeah, all we've done is focus on one family, the Skywalkers. And I really want them to like go, you know what? Let's have Rey, but not have her attached to Skywalker. So let's let her be the start of a new generation.
Well, the whole idea was Lucas said he always had 1, 2, and 3 written, and 7, 8, 9, and it was the whole full saga of the Skywalkers.
And that makes sense to me.
So that's why the whole rumor that she's another Skywalker. What I'm saying is, I wouldn't mind seeing the Skywalker line end at, the last film, when 9 comes out and Luke dying then, and passing on. That
Yes.
you ended the Skywalker story. So
I agree.
how powerful is Luke? You know what I mean, though? We don't know where he at.
Yeah, we haven't seen him fight.
His force.
Now, Darth Vader, his power went down when he lost his body parts.
Correct.
And, I mean, obviously, with back in the day, you couldn't really see that difference in Luke and Vader then, because the CGI wasn't there. You couldn't really do all the force powers. But I'm curious if Luke losing his arm has had some kind of effect on his force powers.
During the expanded universe, Luke became ridiculously powerful, and Luke recreated the code of the Force. So it was neither dark or light. There was a balance, and that was the whole idea of what Luke created. And that's why he always carried Vader's lightsaber and his lightsaber on him to show that balance. So I don't know if that's the direction they're going to, but he came ridiculously powerful in the expanded universe before.
Did he take Vader's saber with him when he left?
Yes.
Okay.
I remember, matter of fact, one of my favorite, we talked about it last podcast, Jedi Academy 2.
Yes.
If you play the bad side of that game, you fight Kyle, whatever his name is, Kyle Katarn, I think his name is, and you're about to defeat him. And Luke comes walking in, and you say something with it, and Luke just goes behind and pulls out both sabers, the red and green, and your character doesn't even try it, he runs. And he looks and he's like, next time, Kyle. But it was just so awesome to see that's how far Luke had become. That like your character was like, no, I'm good. I'm not even gonna take this.
Do you think they're going to establish him as that strong of a character, or you think they're going to pull what they did with Ben?
I feel like
Do you think Kylo has to kill him to make Kylo seem like a really strong villain? Because he didn't finish his training. Correct. So we know at the end of 7, he's going back to finish his training.
Correct.
What do you think Kylo has to do to prove that he is a villain to be reckoned with? Because, I mean, I think Rey kind of handed it to him.
She did. And I feel like even if you look at Kylo Ren, though, you could tell he wasn't training. He didn't swing his saber like a Jedi or a Sith. He was kind of wild with his movements.
Well, his lightsaber that he built was unstable.
It was unstable. You could even see, like, Vader could choke you through a screen where Kylo Ren actually had to drag you to him to be choked. So you can see that he wasn't up there with his Force powers, where Rey, it looks like when she connects with the Force, like, wow. Which a lot of these rumors that she was created by the Force, like Anakin, that's a big possibility because how well she just tapped into it. So I don't know, but to be honest, to show how strong he is, I don't know if that's the direction they're going to go with. To me, I feel like he might turn good. I feel like Snoke is the big villain of this franchise.
I do think Snoke's the big villain, but I don't think making Kylo turn good is a good thing for the series. And here's why. You're pulling a Vader.
Absolutely. You've already remade A New Hope right now.
I think they need to establish that Kylo Ren is a super strong villain. And obviously Snoke has to be stronger than him. But I think even if you make him go good, I don't think he should be the one to end it. Like, Vader technically still was the one prophesized to end the dark side.
Correct. What I would like to see, be honest, is as much as nobody likes the prequel trilogy, one thing I think they did decently was the turn of Anakin.
I agree.
You know what I mean? And granted, we all, as kids growing up watching Star Wars, was, why did Anakin turn bad? And George Lucas was like, the easiest answer, love. So what I would like to see is what turned Kylo Ren to Kylo Ren. You know what I mean? Was it Han's leaving him? You know what I mean? And abandoning him? Was Luke training, and the fact that Luke was never properly trained, and Luke training a new set of Jedi is why he turned. I would love to see, more importantly, I want to see him turn bad, but for a good reason. Where it makes sense, I can identify him to him. You ever see Immortals?
No, I have not.
All right. Mickey Rourke plays the villain in that movie.
Okay.
I dare anybody to watch that movie and say he's the villain. Because you identify with why he's doing what he does in the movie, and I want to see that in Kylo Ren. I want to see why he went this
You
direction.
want to feel like he's not a villain. Just like with Anakin, even though Vader was a bad guy, you understood why he was a bad guy.
As Zangief was saying, just because he's a bad guy doesn't make him a bad guy.
Yeah. I think that's a good way to end the episode, though.
Your voice cracking.
Yeah, I know.
So,
I'm sorry.
yeah.
I think it's the first time on the podcast.
Overall, though, one more thing before this. We have a lot of good movies coming out this year. A lot of things that haven't been announced. Thing you're most excited for. And the Switch can't be it. Because we talked about that enough.
Oh, man. The thing I'm most excited for. I'm going to say two things. I'm going to say a game and a movie. Because I don't think I can just pick one. Movie-wise, I'm going to say Justice League. And here's why. DC has a lot riding on it. Mm-hmm. This movie is basically probably going to decide what happens to the DC cinematic universe.
Yes.
So I am I'm excited, but nervous and worried to see where it goes and how well it's received. My game is Persona 5 because I love Persona. I've been waiting for the 5th entry in the series ever since the PS2, and I'm just super stoked for it. What about you?
I would say Resident Evil 7, but it came out and it was pretty good. Now that you told me that they are re-releasing the Kingdom Hearts on PlayStation 4, that's what I'm going to say I'm most excited to do is play Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 again.
Okay.
Because they were just amazing. Film-wise, I would agree with you on Justice League, but I'm going to give it to Wonder Woman.
Okay.
Only because the balls on DC, man. Your first two films were received well and decent, or even though successful, weren't what you thought they were going to be box office-wise. And your next film lined up is the first female solo superhero movie. Like, Marvel hasn't even had the guts to do this.
And Marvel has a strong female.
Yeah, and be honest, I'm excited about Wonder Woman, but to me, this is where, like, let's see how well DC is and how well the decision was. And let's be honest, if Wonder Woman does well, I guarantee we're going to a Scarlet Witch movie. I guarantee we're going to get a Black Widow movie. Miss Marvel movie. Guarantee it. And it's depending on how well Wonder Woman does.
Yeah, 100%.
You know what I mean? Obviously, America wasn't ready for a female president, but are we ready for a female superhero?
Yeah, I'm excited for it too.
So,
we'll see
and
what
then now
happens.
that I heard Ares is the villain, I just
Gotta see it.
wow, Ares is such a good. That's the god of war.
I know.
Who's the bad guy?
Yeah.
He's also the villain in Clash of the Titans. Spoiler warning.
Ouch.
Clash of the Titans, the movie about
Yep, I remember.
Percy.
It's old.
Is it old?
Well, there's one of them that was really old that came out with the mechanical owl.
Ah, yeah, that was the original 1988. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? It was Wrath of the Titans I was thinking about, actually. That was my apologies. Wrath of the Titans was one, because the other one, Hades, was the bad guy.
Yes.
Well, he wasn't the bad guy in the original. They remade that for the remake movie, which wasn't too terrible. And Wrath of the Titans, which is a sequel to Clash of the Titans, there wasn't a sequel to the original 1988 one, but there was a cartoon called Wrath of the Titans where they came back and did the voices. But that's neither here or there.
Okay.
All right. It's a little knowledge for your brains. So this is the end. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have any questions on anything, let us know. Also, like Mr. Will Zabe over here said, we're doing another episode that is going to be full of spoilers for Resident Evil 7. So if you finish Resident Evil 7 or you don't care, tune in. Once again, you can catch us on
Facebook, Twitter, SoundCloud. And you can feel free to email us too. We actually have an email link on our Facebook, but if you don't have that, it's theenthusiast0@gmail.com. And if you like it, hit that like button. If you don't like it, hit that thumbs down. Just leave a comment, let us know what you think, and hopefully we're doing the right thing for you.
Ooh,
Yeah.
I like that. Have a good one.